Young people of the world, pay close attention, but do not follow the example that many of your parents are setting, that it is okay to justify a sexual attack if you are well connected enough. Obviously, they haven't given any thought to the message they're sending you, so I'm going to try to intervene. I don't want to be doing this. I'm a happy guy trying to use music and joy to bring people together to better understand each other. I'm an international ambassador of American music and American goodwill worldwide and get plenty of attention there. The last time I did one of these videos, my band page got hacked and I lost tens of thousands of followers. So just call this an involuntary action. Sexual attacks should never be justified. The Republican leader's statements, even off record, should have barred him from any serious future profession, but instead was elevated by these people to President of the United States. Now he's admitting comfortably, being honest in his words, he's connected enough to rape whoever he chooses because right-wingers have proven they will get violent if any law tries to hold him accountable. If their blind allegiance to regressive white Christian nationalism is confusing you, well, you're not alone. American dads, are you saying in front of your daughters that this is acceptable? A lot of you already have. As technology exposes America's dark secrets of the past, I've watched these people devolve into infantile tantrums, whining bigoted talking points, denying any logic or reality, let alone common sense, intelligence, or dignity. Freedom doesn't mean unbridled privilege. It isn't a free-for-all. You're free to use the highway. You are not free to drive however you please. That would be chaos against the greater good. The only thing to take serious about these people is just how comfortable they are exposing how deranged and dangerous they've become. Their Messiah is whining he can't get a fair trial in his hometown, New York City, one of the leading cultural meccas of the world, with the people who know him best, by a judge who gives him several extra days for the great negotiator and leader of the evangelical movement to tell his side of the story. Basically, all he had to do was show up, say, look, I'm really rich, I'm a target, I can pay women to have sex with me anytime I want, I'd never ever rape or attack any woman. I'm really rich, I'd never need to. They see me as a rich guy on TV and they find me irresistible. It's decades old, he said, she said. He would have walked scot-free. Instead, he absolutely buried himself, not on a hidden mic on a golf course or a bus, but in the actual legal deposition of the rape trial under oath. He admits feeling connected enough to attack who he chooses. He grins about it. The tragic fact is his admissions are actually a pitch to the regressive voters in rural America. It's the belligerently unrepentant language they've insisted on all along, and he serves it up on an orange platter. He even tells the prosecuting attorney in the deposition, essentially, he's entitled to rape her too. He's just resisting, not because rape is wrong, but because she's not attractive enough to be his first choice, not the chosen one. But he could if he wanted to. This is jarring my last little old vestiges of innocence and belief in my fellow man. A completely transparent psychopath surging in America's presidential polls. And why not? Of course he believes it. The right-wing evangelical fossil fuel oligarch Republican Party just used him to attack an election system that they have only won the popular vote for president once in over 3 decades. With modern digital footprints, they knew they couldn't keep rigging the electoral college and getting away with it the way they had been. In 2016, minus 3 million Republican votes produced almost the identical inverted electoral college score as 2020, when Democrats had plus 7 million votes. That's a spread of 10 million votes in just one cycle with almost identical inverted score. That's why they've conspired to fake electorate fraud and insurrection. They knew this was coming, so they used gullibly spoiled but still desperately thirsty Donald Trump as a satellite expendable kamikaze. If they hadn't gotten violent on January 6th and triggered investigations into their fake electoral conspiracies to defraud the United States of the past, it would have been business as usual for probably a couple more election cycles. I point this out because hopefully here's a rare moment where violence loses and peaceful debate and transparency wins. Hopefully it's the wave of the future. But when he ordered his own country to attack itself, he wasn't immediately arrested. He was allowed to return to his family's prestigious golf courses and golf under taxpayer Secret Service protection. The Trump family even received $2 billion from the same Saudi leadership who attacked us on 9/11 just days after January 6th. No human has ever been coddled like this in our lifetime. It wasn't an unfair trial. He buried himself with every word. He's a legal work of wonder, actually, how he seals his own doom irreversibly as quickly as possible with as few words as possible. And yet, the guillotine crumbles into fiddlesticks every time he gets close to it. They always blame everyone else for the problems of the world, but I noticed a couple of other things about right wing. It's always on the wrong side of history. From the Crusades to American slavery, to Hitler and World War II, to shooting up schools, to taking away women's health rights, to now a pro-rape stance. I could go on forever. He's appealing to these people with this calculated, purposeful language they insist he use. He's just following the applausometer, the ultimate double-down white Christian denial. They might fool you with Donald Trump, but they're not fooling me. Very strangely, he can admit to committing rape and being connected enough to get away with it, admit insurrection and trying to assassinate his second-in-command, VP Pence, because he let him down, admit stealing classified documents, etc., all absolutely unrepentant on camera. But absolutely, under no circumstances can he ever admit to consensual sex with an adult film star. Probably the most understandably forgiven thing he's ever done. Even positive in terms of a woman finally getting paid, if you forget the infinite and endless death threats to her. The RNC would rather pay hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits than just admit consensual sex. The base insists a rapist, not a consensual operator. I'm judging them here on their performance, their conscious deeds, and their behavior. Just because they pretend to be unaware doesn't mean it's not happening. They are proving completely incompatible with common sense decency. They are the ones who committed the largest organized crime event in American history on January 6th that left our Capitol completely exposed, wide open to bomb threats, live on worldwide coverage for our worst enemies to watch. Military defense on purposeful stand down as the Republican president refused to move to protect the country's most crucial breach for hours. A few backpacks of state-of-the-art demolitions could have simply walked in, circumventing trillions of dollars of taxpayer-funded satellite tracking nuclear defense systems and the world's strongest military, and completely decapitate nearly our entire governing nucleus. We would have lost World War III in a single afternoon. These people can never lecture anybody on anything ever again. We only survived thanks to their belligerent incompetence, and our foreign adversaries never believed we could be so strategically and tactically self-defeating. They are the reason Russian fossil fuel oligarchs are emboldened by the shockwaves of division after January 6th, attacking Eastern Europe now and eventually NATO. For the oligarchs, it's just a global insurrection against the rise of possible energy competitors, tax collection, and the global accountability a stronger NATO will enforce upon them, while also hoping to fracture the United States military in half. Their President Trump helped Putin orchestrate this in Ukraine by attempting to block aid while trying to persecute his political rival. Putin watched while regressives destroyed the rule of law, protecting him during the first impeachment trial, where they proved he could do anything he wants. They are the ones insisted that if a sitting president is shooting innocent Americans on the street, it's actually illegal for police officers to even attempt to stop or restrain him. The Heritage Foundation went out of their way to set that precedent for their Project 2025. Their Supreme Court justices insist Republican presidents require total immunity and impunity, while Democrats denounce this same immunity for themselves. Here, Republicans confess, admittedly, they can never be trusted, while Democrats reveal they can always be trusted not to abuse power. Both are striking revelations. They are the reason we're going to have to ban assault rifles. They are the ones overwhelmingly shooting up the schools. They are the reason it's often easier for an 18-year-old to buy an AR-15 than a 16-ounce cup of beer. The same style weapons of mass destruction our most trained professionals on Army and National Guard bases keep under lock and key, every round accounted for. Yet we are flooding our streets with combat-style weapons without even basic hunter safety courses I grew up with years ago, or at least stricter background checks. No amendment more clearly states the need for federal regulation than the Second Amendment. Even in the 1700s, before National Guard was created and well regulated, the purpose of arms was for defense of the home or a state militia from outside attack, never as an offensive against American government, as clearly stated in the same era's Insurrection Act. That's sedition and treason. They are the ones inheriting booming economies from progressive administrations' growth, but by the end of the regressive administrations, it's been a complete financial meltdown. The only thing significant about Trump is he destroyed it in only 4 years, whereas Bush took 8. Progressives continually have to rescue us despite internal sabotage such as debt limit, government shutdown, hostage derailments. They are the ones giving huge tax breaks to fossil fuel elite while unwinding middle-class workers and consumer protections. Trump was both the world's single largest super spreader and single largest suppressor of crucial health and safety information during COVID. They are the ones foolishly ignorant enough to label themselves anti-fascist or anti-globalist. Think of that. If you're not a globalist, logically, you're an isolationist. You put America last, not first. You can't win a track meet between 10 teams by refusing to participate and forming your own race by yourself out in the parking lot. This is America, Jack. We lead, not run and hide. We lead NATO. We lead global energy initiatives. They are the ones blocking funding for border control and blocking immigration reform. Instead, manufacturing crisis to divert from their financial, job, and social failures. Trump is the single greatest obstructor of the immigration reform in half a century, killing his own party's conservative bipartisan bill. They are the ones blocking fentanyl strips, which could help detect contaminated pills and save lives. They are the ones against responsible conservative reproduction and Planned Parenthood, while being lobbied constantly to cut every penny they can from women's programs and children's programs, educational programs. Their districts have the poorest sexual education and the highest abortion rates as a result of their immature, draconian, and vulturistic livestock-type views on human reproduction. They are the ones who insist on forcing and trapping a criminal into running for president in hopes of destroying the whole process in chaos. It's the only play they have left. They're simply too obsolete to compete. They are the ones who know they can no longer gaslight the American public about fiscal responsibility or national security. Since they can't run on these issues, they've turned to pure bigotry. But with the simultaneous radical bend backwards to evangelical extremism, it's laid bare how interwoven the two inextricably are. They are shocked that their bigotry to decide who burns in hell and who doesn't might get taken away from them, and they are panicking in this digital footprint world of accountability. They are the ones coddling the criminals, the violent criminals who beat up police into the ground and left our Capitol exposed in broad daylight. In fact, they cut a record with these people, aiding and abetting seditionists and traitors who attack their own country. We're not in North and South uniforms just yet, but this combat-style armed populace of unregulated, unvetted, untrained, regressive, anti-science, anti-government, white supremacists is devolved into tyrannical rule or ruin civilian war against progressive, scientific, diversity in leadership, democracy, and the rule of law. These are the people Trump pitches to with the brazen pro-rape language. We continually underestimate their secret power of complete and total lack of shame, unbridled privilege, and unmitigated fragile denial. Every American dad should be making a video like I'm making now. We got to get real with these people. Maybe we should terminate the 10 Commandments as non-applicable, since about half of the commandments are dedicated to blind, regressive allegiance to a faith-based interpretation of single Messiah as just too radical. It's not working out. It's too obsolete to compete. Instead, maybe power distributed evenly across a spectrum of professionals in fact-based determination is the more conservative approach. Maybe we should think of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Geneva Convention enhancements as our more conservative, progressive list of human and civil rights to be worshiped and collectively bargained upon.